Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, 3-time steals leader, 5-time league MVP, 10-time scoring champ, 14-time All-Star, 6 finals MVPs because of 6 NBA championships. That's his Airness, Air Jordan, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. And aside from all the facts I just read you, he did something I think we can all relate to, and something we might need to learn from. He stood up to and beat his bullies, the Detroit Pistons. And I'm going to show you how coming up next. What up, and welcome to J.A.R.R.E. Talks. My name is Jared, and today I'm just a really enamored dude, because today we're talking about beating the bullies. And we are using the example of Michael Jordan versus the Detroit Pistons. And I'm somewhat enamored by his Airness, Michael Jordan. Enamored meaning very fond of. Maybe that's too strong a word, but watching Michael Jordan play was magic. Actually, it's better than magic, because it was real. Well, I wasn't really there to watch MJ and the Chicago Bulls beat their bullies, the bad boys of Detroit. I've watched a lot of footage of it and seen it many times over the years, and growing up I wanted to know everything about MJ. I even had a life-size cutout of him in my house. It was actually a Christmas present joke, and it was a pretty good one actually. But having studied MJ and watched all the things he did on and off the court, I learned how to play better. Not like him, because I'm not 6 feet tall and I can't dunk, but just better. And as I learned things on the court and by playing basketball, I began learning more things off the court. Most people call them life lessons, and I wanted to share some of them with you in this episode. Basketball season has started up as well, and I wanted something with basketball in it. And last year there was a documentary that came out about the Chicago Bulls last season in 1998 called The Last Dance. Right around that time I wrote an article about it, and I'm going to share that article with you in the first half of the episode, and in the second half I'd like to share another article I wrote about beating those bullies off and on the court. So let's lace up our high tops and jump right in. Maybe you've seen it. If you haven't, you definitely should. It's The Last Dance, and it's one of the greatest sports documentaries that's ever been done. It's about the greatest team that's ever played. It tells the story of the greatest player to ever play basketball, Michael Jordan and his Chicago Bulls. The documentary primarily focuses on the last season the greatest team ever played, which is in 1998, while also giving unprecedented access and insight as to what it took to get there. The Chicago Bulls were undoubtedly the team of the 90s, but to get there they had to go through the bad boy Detroit Pistons. In the most recent documentary, and others like it, you see Michael Jordan, the unstoppable force, struggle to get through the Pistons, the immovable object. What made the Pistons bad boys was their style of play. The Pistons saw a weakness not only in Michael Jordan, but the rest of the league. It was actually weakness, physical toughness. Playing with a rough, trying to hurt you style gave them an edge. Enough of an edge to win back-to-back championships. Now, personally, I never liked it. I never liked them, and I still don't. As a matter of fact, I don't think the Detroit Pistons were bad boys. I think they were just not as skilled as everyone else, and because of that, they played like boys and not men. Now, I've played basketball since I was a little kid. I still play, and I'm old. According to Twitch, I'm extremely old. But growing up, I saw my fair share of fights on the court. Physical play and arguing over a foul was just about always the start of every fight that has ever happened on any playground. The more I played and the older I got, the more I realized why some players play more physically. And that would be lack of skill. Now, not everyone that plays hard isn't skilled, okay? So just look at Russell Westbrook. That guy plays his heart out. He plays hard, and he is highly skilled. He's fast, yet unafraid to drive hard to the basket. So it's not just unskilled players that bully people around the court. Like any student in the game, I came to realize that physical play often means desperation. You see, if you can't beat me one-on-one off the dribble, chances are you're going to use your shoulder to create space. If you could beat me, you just go right around me. And any good defender will tell you that a foul is a direct result, most of the time, of having been invested and a last-ditch effort to regain control over the situation. Simply put, once I see a defender start playing more physically, it means I got him. Psychologically, I'm in their head. They think I'm more skilled than they are, and now it's time to dance. That's when I used to use my handles dribbling. Keyword used to. I used to use my handles and start playing around a little bit and keep them guessing. Now, here's the thing. I'm no Harlem Globetrotter, but I have broken a few ankles in my day. What inevitably happens when you break your defender's ankles is the need for revenge. Hence, more physical play, fouls, and given enough time, fights. Watching old footage of the bad boy Pistons, it's easy to see how they took this concept to the extreme. They created an atmosphere of intimidation, much like any other bully would. The question is why? I mean, Isaiah Thomas, good ball player, Hall of Famer. Joe Dumars, elite guard, great defender, quintessential 3-and-D guy. Dennis Rodman, one of the best, if not the best, rebounder the league has ever seen. So why all the physical play? Why were the Pistons beating people up and not just beating them outright without all the physical, career-threatening, poor sportsmanship play? As I mentioned above, it's psychological. If you listen to their side of the story, you see the heavy-weighted chip on each player's shoulders, feelings of inadequacy, rejection, lack of skill, lack of solid foundations in which to be raised and nurtured in. As the saying goes, inside every monster, every bully, is a scared little kid just trying to fit in. The Bad Boy Pistons were the embodiment of that very tough but very true analysis. It wasn't just that they really were not as good as Magic Johnson and the Lakers or Michael Jordan and the Bulls. It wasn't just that they felt that desperation. It wasn't just that they allowed their feelings of inadequacy to bubble up to the surface and create a dangerous league in which to play in. It was all of these things, and I'm sure much more. But I could be wrong. Maybe, just maybe, it was something else. Now, if you have watched everything about Michael Jordan like I have, or with anything with Michael Jordan, or you just like movies, maybe you've seen a little movie back in 1996 called Space Jam. Without going into some deep analysis and dissecting the whole movie, I'll hook you up with some cliff notes. It's like this. Bugs Bunny and all the Toontown face off against aliens that come to the planet to enslave all of the known cartoon world. In desperation, Bugs Bunny and the crew call out the aliens in a battle royale to decide the fate of all cartoon characters on Earth. Since the aliens are very small, Bugs decides that basketball is the best arena in which to do battle. The aliens figure out a way to cheat and go into the real world to steal the size and ability of NBA players. After the very small aliens become very big aliens, they take on the team named the Monstars. The opposing team, the Toon Squad, needs to find an answer for these big bully aliens and seeks out Michael Jordan to help them out. Now, I'm pretty sure you can see where I'm going with this, but we're going to get a little bit deeper. The Monstars equals the bad boy Detroit Pistons, and Michael Jordan has to stop them. Now, This is a little bit of a spoiler alert, so if you haven't by some chance seen this movie and you're hanging out on a rainy day, go check it out, then come back and watch this or listen to this. Just like in real life though, Michael Jordan comes through and the Monstars are defeated. After the loss, as part of the side bet, gambling theories aside, the aliens have to give the NBA players back their talent. Now, when those big bully aliens are finally brought back down to size, they become somewhat humble and explain that they didn't want to do any of that. They were made to do it by the big boss, who happens to be a decent representation of Commissioner David Stern at the time. Now, I'm not saying Commissioner David Stern, may he rest in peace, had anything to do with the bad boy Pistons and their style of play. What I am saying is the commissioner and the league allowed this dangerous style of play to continue long enough for the Pistons to win back-to-back championships. Personally, I feel it was bad for basketball and something that should never happen again. Here's the thing, ask any kid at any playground. Most people just want to play the game. No one wants to get in the middle of a fight and not be able to just play basketball or football or whatever game it is that you're playing. But what usually happens when a fight breaks out on the playground court is one of two things. One, the people settle up, they deal with the fact they just aren't as good as the other team or player. Or number two, the game ends and everybody goes home. Now I know what it's like to play bully ball. It can be fun for anyone on the Bullies team, but everyone else hates it. Bully ball takes away the fundamentals, fun being the key phrase in there. It takes away the breathtaking suspense and excitement and turns the game into a grind. Bully ball isn't pretty to watch and it isn't fun to play, so everybody goes home. I could go on and on about bully ball, specifically LeBron James and a few others, but I'll save that for a little bit later. I will say just one more thing though. Money. At the time when the NBA is soaring to new heights, back in the early 90s, both with advertisers and with fans, it's interesting that the league would allow such dangerous and potentially career-ending play. I mean, here's the thing. Can you imagine if Michael Jordan had drove to the basket and one of those bad boy Detroit Pistons had seriously injured him to the point of never playing again? Can you imagine that? I think the league allowed this style of play to go on as a cap to the 80s and come into the 90s with a much more cautious, we need to protect our investment attitude, and thankfully so. I mean, I would hate to think what would have happened if Michael Jordan had suffered a career-ending injury at the hands of such poor sportsmanship. But let's not think about what thankfully didn't happen. Let's look at what did happen. And basically, Michael Jordan realized that he needed to get tougher. So he hit the gym. He bulked up. He played a bit more physically, and he got better. And the Bulls beat the Pistons once and for all in 1991. As a matter of fact, the Bulls swept the Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals. The Pistons were not happy about it. As a matter of fact, the majority of the bad boys walked off the court with 8 seconds to go and headed into the locker room. They had to walk by the Bulls bench on their way, and the look on Michael Jordan's face is one of utter disbelief and actual hurt. Listening to the Pistons side of things, they blame the legacy scarring event on the fact that the Boston Celtics had done the same thing to them. While that's true, the Celtics were not happy about being beaten by the Pistons. I think the Celtics walked off for a different reason. As a matter of fact, I think they walked off for a good reason. The Celtics walked off as a protest to the style of play the Pistons were using. Whereas the Pistons walked off because they were just boys. Bad boys, immature, and not skilled. Here's what I think. I think you need to rise above it. Just like Michael Jordan did. Just like the Monstar team, the Bad Boy Pistons, Michael Jordan rose above it, quite literally, if you've ever watched the movie. Why? Because cream always rises to the top, baby. Michael Jordan is the best basketball player that's ever lived, and he was destined to rise to the top. How? He internalized that struggle and made it his mission to prepare for that battle that was the Bulls versus the Pistons. Should we have to do this? No. Should anyone have to do this again? No. But I wouldn't bet that it won't happen again. Every playground eventually has a bully on the court. David and Goliath stories happen all the time. My personal favorite, other than the actual David and Goliath story, is Steph Curry versus LeBron James. That one was actually fun to watch. I'm no Michael Jordan, but just like anyone else going to the local playground court every day, I got to deal with bullies and rude, belligerent people that just aren't willing to put the work in to become as skilled as they actually could be. To all those bullies, I say, go back to the football practice. Come back to basketball when you learn how to play the game with some dignity and respect. When we get back, we're going to see how you can beat those bullies on the court and off the court. And we'll be right back right after this. Welcome back. You're listening to the J.A.R.R.E.D Talks podcast. In case you didn't know, you're actually watching this podcast on twitch.tv/The J.A.R.R.E.D Show, where you can come hang out and join in the discussion or ask some questions towards the end of the show. And this episode is all about beating the bullies in sports and in life. Before that break, I read you an article that I wrote about how Michael Jordan beat his bullies in the bad boy Detroit Pistons. Now I want to read you another article that I wrote about how we can beat our own bullies in sports and in life. I'm going to be using references to basketball since that's my favorite sport, but it applies to all sports and just about everyone's life. So let's get back into it. Bully basketball is playing physical or too physical. Bullying in general is being aggressive towards someone else and trying to dominate them. No one likes bullies. Most of the time, they don't even like themselves. Over the years, I've faced my fair share of bullies on the court. People who could not match my skill and turned toward fouling or hard physical contact. Some people know this as prison ball. I call it bully ball. I've experienced bully ball enough times to learn how to deal with it successfully. I've also learned those same tactics can apply to bullies in any given situation. In this second half of this episode, I'm going to break down 3 ways to overcome bully ball in one way that may seem like a good idea but can actually backfire. LeBron James and his style of play is called bully ball. To me, LBJ is like that one big kid that can't shoot very well, can't dribble all that great, but he can pass and he's big. And that's actually the way LeBron James used to be. No shade on LeBron James, got respect for him. But when he came in the league, that's basically what he was. He was a big dude that could dunk, he could pass, and he really couldn't shoot that well. And he couldn't dribble all that great. He could get to the basket, but that's about it. What's interesting is he's come a long way. And now he can do all those things. Plus, he's still big. He's a big guy still. So now he can dribble, he can shoot, he can pass, and he's big. What LeBron James used to do was lower his head and plow his way to the rim. Now, the bully my way to the rim style worked for him, but it didn't win him a championship. It wasn't until he gained more grace, a better shot, and used more than just his size that he started to actually win championships, and I guess leaving Cleveland helped. Looking back at LeBron's career and at the NBA as it is today, I believe that LBJ is the last of a dying breed. The NBA has found the secret to beating bully ball, or big man basketball, and I don't think it's going to be changing back anytime soon. So with that in mind, let's get to the 3 ways players in the NBA, kids on the court all over the world, and you too, can beat those bullies. Now, the way that we do this is we have a basketball reference and how that applies to the real world. So number 1 is tire them out, right? Or in the real world, you could say kill them with kindness. Now, first, let's look at it in basketball terms. Then we'll get it into the everyday life aspect. Here's the thing, when you play against a bully ball player, usually they aren't as quick, they are bigger, and chances are they won't have as much stamina as you. Sometimes they do, don't get me wrong, but these are just generalizations. So here's all you got to do is just dribble all around the court. Make them chase after you, point after point, rebound after rebound. Soon enough, they'll get tired, and then you can just blow right past them. Also, which I've done many times, if you can shoot pretty well, but you can't dribble, just shoot long shots and make them chase the rebound. Whatever way you can, keep them moving more than you. It works. Trust me, I've won more than a couple games this way. So how does that work in real life? Well, it starts with a smile. Ever heard the phrase kill them with kindness? This principle works because it's much easier to smile and to try to keep moving than it is to invest time and energy into trying to ruin someone's day or life. Like the bully ball player, a bully in everyday life is lacking in an area of their life and taking it out on you. Being kind to someone allows you to maintain a positive attitude, not let it ruin your day, and maybe even give that bully something they desperately need: positive attention and love. When you're kind instead of feeding the troll, it puts the pressure on the bully to try to keep going with nothing to feed off of. Don't feed the troll. Smile and keep moving. Let them do all the work and get tired while you focus on something more important. On the basketball court and in everyday life, it can be hard sometimes to not feed into the trap set by the bully or the troll. If you take a moment to think, dribble around a little bit before you shoot, speak, or act, you'll have a better chance of scoring, getting on with your day, and achieving what you set out to do. Number 2 is shoot threes, or in the real world, it would be rise above it. What I learned to do was become a shooter. I shoot primarily from the outside, threes. If you're playing a game of one-on-one, let's say 11 by ones and twos, all you need is 6 shots to go in. Game over. I've done this many times. It's a simple matter of numbers. Not only will you have a better chance, but the rebounds they have to chase will tire them out, helping to sync with the first way to beat those bullies. If you're not already a shooter, it may require some extra practice, but it's well worth it. Just look at the NBA and how it changed. Look at how Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors beat big man basketball, or bully ball. They overcame lack of size with skill. So what's this look like in everyday life? Shooting threes, a place that's farthest away from the basket, is like rising above it all. When you're getting bullied or pushed around, it's better to stay focused on your goals in life than it is to feed into the situation. Rising above the taunts and shoves and glares is one of the best ways to leave the bully behind and keep moving forward. Have I mentioned don't feed the trolls? It's worth mentioning again, and here it's the same principle but more emphasis on what your focus is on. If you're so focused on getting your work done and moving on, it's hard to get your GOAT, or greatest of all time. Don't let them steal what could be the greatest moment, play, day, victory of your life by focusing on what they have going on. Don't let them steal your GOAT moment. In basketball, we can complain to the ref and feed into the Bullies game, or we can get on with it and keep scoring, keep racking up points. Staying focused on scoring points and not the bully. Now, sometimes it just won't stop, so you're going to have to walk away. That's right, you're going to have to walk away. Sometimes the more you shoot threes, tire them out, and try to rise above it, just makes them bully more frustrated. That's when you got to walk away. What's the worst thing that could happen on a basketball court? Injury. One of the worst feelings in the world is waking up the next day injured because of something you did playing basketball the day before. It's even worse when you injure yourself or get injured and have to work the next day or the next. Basketball is already a somewhat dangerous sport. Adding fights, hard fouls, and unnecessary physical play makes it 10 times worse. No bully is worth missing your basketball season in school. No tough guy at some gym or court in a park is worth losing money because you can't go to work. There comes a point where you say, hey man, chill out. We ain't trying out for the NBA here. Call me a quitter if you want, but there are plenty of times I've refused to play basketball with idiots that are getting physical. I've been injured enough times just playing basketball or skateboarding or just living life to know if I get injured, I can't work. And if I can't work, I don't eat. Is this clown that thinks they are playing in the NBA Finals worth not having food on my table or gas in my car? Hell no. No way. Having said that, here's a bonus tip. Stand up for yourself, but worry about the consequences. We've all seen it in movie after movie. The person that's getting bullied stands up for themselves, gets in a lucky haymaker, and knocks out the bully. Movie over. What a happy ending. That's great and all, but it's not real life. Just because you got in a lucky punch doesn't mean it's going to stop that bully the next day, or the next day, or the day after that. If you choose to stand up for yourself, which is necessary sometimes, be aware of the consequences. In this day and age, the consequences can be much more than getting beaten up. It can mean life or death. I'm not saying you shouldn't stand up for yourself. I'm saying you still gotta play the game. Look at it with our basketball analogy. If I'm getting bully-balled and I stand up for myself by getting physical too, it just keeps escalating. They throw an elbow, I accidentally stick a foot out. It just keeps getting rougher until it's forced into a full-blown fight. In this case, the best way to stand up for yourself is to call a foul. If that's not working, sometimes you just have to walk away. That is the way to stand up for yourself, saying, I value myself above this person and their style of play. I've said I don't want to play this way, and if you can't respect that, I'm out. Peace. Deuces. I'll see ya. I got to get to step. To sum things up here, tire them out with kindness. Become a sharpshooter, step back, and rise above it. Be willing to walk away if you have to, but stand up for yourself in a respectable way while recognizing your actions have lasting consequences, because this isn't the movies and one punch and happy endings rarely exist. I found these tactics work both off and on the court. My favorite one is draining threes and tiring them out. Nothing like the look on a helpless bully's face when that game-winning shot goes in. That's game. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. What up, though? I've done it many times, actually. And here's the thing, man. I hope you have learned something here you can apply in basketball and in life. We're going to jump straight to the bottom line. The bottom line is, whoever you are and wherever you go, there are bullies, or at least obstacles and troubles you're going to face. As a wise woman, my mother, once said, it's all on how you cope with them. Your troubles in life, that is. Do you stand up to the bullies? Do you run and hide and do drugs to escape your reality? Do you walk away and shift your focus onto something that matters more? These are the tough choices you're gonna have to make. Like the song says, you gotta know when to hold them, you gotta know when to fold them, and you'll know. just take the things I've said in this episode and apply them to your life or your situation and see what you can do about it. Whatever you do, just remember that you matter. What you say, what you do, and what's going on inside of you, it matters. So don't take yourself lightly. Be humble, be strong, and do good things. I think that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you for listening wherever you may be. And a special thanks to everybody on Twitch. If you would like to watch this podcast live and join in the discussion, you can go to twitch.tv/The J.A.R.R.E.D Show. Jump right in. If you missed an episode, want more content, want to get some cool stuff, or just curious, you can go check out thejaredshow.com. And there you'll find the podcast, links to the YouTube and all the social media, and this live stream, actually. And speaking of live stream, we're going to keep things going. We'll see you next time on J.A.R.R.E.D Talks.